Today's episode is brought to you by Workfeed, the all-in-one platform to manage your restaurant team. Over 2,000 hospitality businesses use Workfeed's workforce management platform to create staff schedules 50% faster, track hours and salaries without errors, streamline team communication, and automate HR processes. Visit workfeed.io to learn more and to try it out for free. Jacob, welcome. For the people who don't know you, who are you?
Well, I am a 31-year-old businessman slash chef slash YouTube influencer.
You can say, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
a good few hundred K followers, right?
Yeah, it's always a hard question to kind of reply because I see myself having like quite a few different full-time jobs at the same time.
And which one takes up the majority of who you are? Is it influencer or is it chef, businessman?
I think it's definitely being the businessman because I'm an influencer to kind of promote my own business. That's why I started all the online, the YouTube, the Instagram and everything else. That was basically to get more customers in my businesses. It's definitely business.
When's the first time you realized you wanted to be a businessman, owning your own companies?
I think I knew that since I can remember. Remembering that from when I was, 8-10 years old.
What's like the first venture you did? Like the first type of business?
The very first, that was probably back when I was 11, 12, made small carts to share them out in the whole neighborhood that I could babysit or help in the garden or whatnot. And then I took it a little bit more serious when I was
started to sell serious garden stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I took it a little bit more. The first thing that I actually made a little money on was doing catering when I was, I think, in 9th grade, so like 14, 15.
So you got a background as a chef at that point?
No, not at all. I just love cooking. Always loved cooking. And I always like Gordon Ramsay, I think, was one of my biggest idols, and a few other international chefs. And I just loved everything about creating something out of some groceries to make that into some dish that always, I think, turned me on a little bit. But I always wanted to do something, my own business. And then I just started out. I think I worked in a wine shop when I was 14, 15, and I started doing small wine and dine events on Fridays.
Can I ask about that wine shop? You know, you're a 14-year-old. Someone come ask, what wine should I have? You've never tasted wine yourself. Like, how do you work in a wine shop?
When you're 14-year-old at that time, I think you might had your first sip.
Yeah, for sure. But as a salesman, that was just pure.
It was just scanning.
Yeah. It was probably,
well, I like the Ribeo del Duero. It's a
So I had a few different ones, but that was.
Isn't that in general the case with talking about wine?
Yes.
For most people, that it is mostly bullshitting because if you're sitting on a table with, let's say, 6 people and there's maybe 2 self-taught sommeliers on the table, and you just start Googling something completely random, you say it up, they will both be like, yeah.
Also because there's no facts. Yeah. If you tell me this glass of wine tastes like African mud, then
but I also have chocolate hints. The other one's like, definitely dark chocolate.
There's also just something when someone mentions an ingredient, you're like, suddenly you can sort of taste it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not even in there, but yeah.
It's like that's actually I think a big part of me as well, because some of that more snobby kind of way of making restaurants, I think what I've had great success with was still be able to charge a lot of money for a meal, but to take away the white cloth and the sommeliers and the
it's very casual.
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly.
Even though the dining or the quality of the food is very high end.
Yeah.
But so you started doing some catering when you were very young. You worked in a wine shop. When did you get the first feel of, I'm gonna open a restaurant?
When I was 18, I hated school. Absolutely hated school. I loved the social part about it, and I promised my parents to go to the gymnasium, and kind of had some rough years. Barely came through with my grades and everything. So I just bought a one-way ticket to Sydney. The first thing I could when I was done as an 18-year-old, and ended up getting a job in Surfers Paradise and stayed there 13 months. Also where I met my wife, and went from there to spend a year in Canada. And I think it was that year in Canada where I worked at a nice restaurant. I really realized, okay, this is the kind of business I want to open. And I actually wanted to open a food truck back in the day. So
Why
I did a
was
business
it?
plan.
What made you feel that way about restaurants?
I think the whole experience that you get in a restaurant, the whole way of getting some sort of like direct feedback, instant. Either you see people, they love your meal, or you get it sent back. Like you get that instant feeling of succeeding in something or failing in something. And I think that's kind of what I love the most in comparison to so many other jobs where you maybe spend 4 weeks on doing something and then
You hope for the best.
get a result 6 months later or whatever it is. I really love that direct.
Thank
kind
you for
of feedback.
summarizing
That
our
was-
daily life here.
Yeah, but that's
Nutshell,
something
yeah.
on the line all the time,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
think that
but
was.
It makes
really
so
spoke
much
to me,
sense.
yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. And you said you both worked in Australia and in Canada.
Yeah.
What made you decide to just go there in the first place? Because it's a pretty big jump. You just mentioned, okay, being done with school.
Basically, I just wanted to get away from like I've had the same circle of friends and going to football and all this, like knew all this the same people. So I kind of think that my main goal was to figure out who I was and to figure out if I get put in a community where I don't know anyone, am I still that same person? Because back home I was my brother's little brother that everyone knew, and everyone in the city knew my parents, and so to kind of get to find out,
Find your own way.
find my own way, kind of, yeah.
And then you said you went to Canada as well, worked there in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Now you have been working in the restaurant industry in Denmark for a long time. What are the differences?
I think in general, I think it's a lot tougher in both Canada, especially Australia, than in Denmark, and that's kind of some of that toughness that I love to put in my business. I think it's that we also. I think it's priceless that I'm not an educated chef. That my education was traveling from restaurant to restaurant and started at something chain like it was called the Coffee Club, kind of like Dellevelle in Denmark, and started as a kitchen assistant there in Australia, and kind of worked my way up and tried all different kinds of businesses. But I always got kind of taught that you cook to give a customer's experience, not something you have learned by like the culinary school or
Some
something
fancy
in a book
techniques.
or whatever. But to answer your question, I think that the industry is a lot more tough in other countries than Denmark.
And also in the way you talk to each other?
Yes, the way that you talk to each other, but also everyone in Denmark has a way better life. Like an average chef in Australia or Canada is not having the same opportunities that you have in Denmark. In Denmark you don't see many people in. I don't have any employees who has kids, for instance. In Australia and Canada, you work alongside with 40, 50-year-old men who has 3-4 kids at home, who's feeding their families. So there's a difference. There's a lot more on the line. Denmark, as a chef or as a waitress or whatever, you can any day of the week just quit and find a new job the next day.
And the pay is relatively good.
And the
right,
pay is
in
relatively
comparison?
good, and if it all fucks up, then you can just go on dagpenge or whatever you want. Like it's not those same opportunities, and I think that makes everything a little bit more tough and a little bit more serious, because there's a lot more on the line for everyone who works in those businesses.
Yeah. And you did mention it helped you to be in a tough environment.
Definitely, yeah.
How did it help you? How did it shape you? Because you went there as a young guy and basically came home a man. Perhaps I think that's a good way to put it.
Something like that, and I just kind of learned that there was just no room for bullshitting if you get high. Like it made me grow up pretty much, because in Denmark you could always get around with this and that, and I'm from a nice good family.
The hand above your head is basically gone, right?
Yeah, exactly, and to have some grown men have some sort of expectations to you, and if you don't live up to that expectation, well then fuck off. And that like to kind of get that, and also after first week or two in Australia, I called home and I don't have any money. Mom and Dad, can you help me out? And I just like, fuck off. You moved away to Australia for this reason to find your own way. Yeah. So if you cannot pay your rent, well, then you're fucked.
Work more.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting also taking that perspective on risk in general, because I can imagine you coming home from that to Denmark, suddenly the risk of opening a restaurant seems pretty low, right? Because you have so much to fall back on in Denmark.
Yeah. Definitely,
all set reasons. You just know like you'll quickly be catched here. You're in a safe place. There's so many things to go back to. And how did that toughness that you learned there shape you as well? Because I can imagine sometimes you might also take things back that people here are not used to.
Definitely. I think that it shaped me in a way that I had my first boss that I had for 6 months. I absolutely hated him, like purely. He was so evil, and today I almost wanna send him some flowers because it shaped me. I learned a lot from how what leadership skills I do not want to have, but it also in a kitchen you need some hierarchy. You need everyone to be on the exact same page. There's no room for chatting and chit-chatting, and I want it this way, I want it that way. So it kind of taught me that, like, I love that toughness in the kitchen. Also, I was super inspired. I know it's a TV show, and half of it is a little bit of a setup, but the old Hell's Kitchen back in the day, the old Kitchen Nightmares with Ramsay back in the day.
I think the first few seasons of those series are actually quite genuine.
Exactly, yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. But I think it really, I think there's a lot of great things to take home from some of those kitchens. Obviously, some of the places I worked in, people got slapped, people got thrown kitchen tools after them,
mate,
burned, and all this stuff. Obviously, we should not bring that. Yeah, but like obviously we should not bring that home. But I still think that
there's a balance to it.
There's a balance, and I think that it's a bit too soft in my opinion. Many places in Denmark, and everyone talks about this new generation who you need to treat a lot better, and they're all self-centered and everything else. I think the exact opposite. I think that they want to have some frames to work within. We have the most amazing 17, 18, 19-year-old guys, and we have huge expectations. And if they fuck up, or they don't live up to the expectations or whatever, well, then we do everything we can to move them there. But we need people driven by ambition and who's okay that it is tough and it is a tough tone. And that's also why I run my kitchen old school, that we still call the tickets and everyone says, yes, chef. And the whole brigade is run by like something you did 20 years ago in an old French kitchen. But I think it gives that whole hierarchy and environment and everything else.
Also creates a great flow. Yeah. It makes it way more fun if everyone knows their role.
Yeah,
and you just kind of make everything go up in a...
Exactly, yeah.
It's always so amazing to see a well-oiled machine where it is.
Yes, chef. It's the most beautiful.
Like you have that, you see that in that show a lot on the knife set. Some of them they really nail it. Or you had this YouTube video of that 3-star Michelin star restaurant, I think in Madison Square or something. That is just, like everyone is scared to death about the guy who's walking around. First of all, so if he says something, everyone is like, "Yes, chef." But it looks awesome when that happens.
Definitely, yeah.
It's also about showing your staff that you have their back. If they
110%.
give you what you ask for, you will also have their back. And
Exactly.
I can imagine that being the case.
Yeah, and that is... Oh, sorry.
At what point, since opening Feed, did you realize I have to start doing even more? Because most people we talk to that owns a restaurant, they're quite busy, don't feel like they have time enough to just manage the restaurant. And at some point, you still realize, I want to do more projects. I want to go into YouTube and all those things. At what point did you kind of...
Well, I think that I wanted to succeed with the restaurant so bad. So, like, when I opened up, we had 20 seats, 22 seats, super small little place in the basement in Nørrebro. We started up, we were open for breakfast, lunch, dinner. I was still doing catering on the side. We started hiring people. We lost all the money we had. We kind of then went to do lunch deals for a law firm that I delivered lunch for them every day, and then still lunch at the restaurant, like everything else. So I kind of closed in on, okay, it's actually the evening concept that worked. And we expanded in 2017 and got the neighbor rental, and we put the wall down, so we got 40 seats, but we still couldn't kind of, we didn't make money. Couldn't pay myself before year, I think 5 or 6, that I started getting a salary, and I was doing it with my wife, so we had nothing pretty much.
How did you come by then?
A little bit here and there, some loans, an absolute minimum. We lived above the kitchen for the first 6 years.
Did you ever think about quitting when you were?
Never. And I get that question quite a lot, but it has never been an option. Also because my siblings, for instance, and a lot of other people that I've been growing up with, they all have very nice educations and everything else. And I was that black sheep saying, no, I want to do my own thing.
You have to prove something as well.
And I needed to prove that this was going to be a success. And to reply your original question here is how I start these other projects. I see everything as one project pretty much. Like I started up doing YouTube to get more customers into the restaurant, and then I kept going, obviously to get people in the restaurant, but I could also see how many other businesses I could build on the back of my social media performance.
Yeah, everything is also super connected.
Everything is extremely connected, yeah.
Like the restaurant is at all, like in everything is the foundation, right? Like if you look at it, that's where it started. Like you also work a lot with these iconic dishes, beef Wellington, in general, the menu, I think. When did that part of the restaurant with that set menu come into play? Was that from the very beginning, or when did you go that direction?
No, that was probably after. I think that I didn't have a clue what I was doing until maybe 5 years in. Those first 5 years, I tried every single direction that you could even find in terms of restaurant takeaway, whatever, New Year's menus, this and that. And it was, I think after 4 or 5 years, I decided to close for lunch and focus everything on only dinner, set menus. And then we slowly got into buying Wagyu, getting these things. And then I thought to myself, okay, why don't we do our own import of Wagyu? And then we started WagyuPusher, probably 2020 as well, I think. So that was kind of where I think since 20, that we kind of...
When beef Wellington.
Exactly. I think the beef Wellington came on the menu in 19, something like that. Yeah.
And it's just been there ever since.
Yeah.
Also makes so much more sense now, given that you're just a big Gordon Ramsay fanboy.
Huge. Yeah.
Everything falls into place.
Yeah, exactly.
And
definitely.
Just out of curiosity, because it's not necessarily the easiest thing to make, of course, once you get a hang of it, but how often does that go wrong? Because you're always serving the same dish there, consistency important.
And I think also what we have really been successful with at Feed Bistro is that we change 3-4 items on the menu every 6 months. Everyone else, to create some news value, have to do a new 13-course menu every 3 months. Yeah. Change the whole thing every 3 months. And it's so extremely expensive, and it makes such a big room for mistakes every time that you change your menu, because you need to train your team, you need to get new groceries, you need to do new calculations and everything else. So it's expensive in many ways to change the menu. We have found some star dishes, the katsu slider, the béarnaise main course, the beef Wellington. And we know that that's what everyone comes for. So I would like to keep pretty much the same menu all year round, change small snacks here and there, but then make sure that we serve everything at least a level of 96, 97% every single day. And then we create the news value on YouTube, burger pop-up events, famous people coming to eat there, recording a music video, whatever we can think of. So we don't need to have that, the culinary news, we don't need to get that, because we have a lot of regulars that come to feed once or twice a month.
And branding is not your problem.
No, exactly.
No.
And but what they come for is to eat the exact same dish that they loved to get last time.
I'm exactly like that. I always order the same pizza from my local pizzeria
Exactly.
because I figured that's the best one. I don't have to try every
Yeah.
one. So that makes perfect sense.
Exactly. And it's also, I would rather spend 3 months on making the perfect dish and then implementing that and creating the sickest content out of it and really just knock down some doors with it, instead of doing 10 dishes, half there, some of it doesn't work. And like
How did the content strategy? I find that really fascinating because you might be the biggest food influencer in Denmark, or at least one of them. Where did that start taking off? Because as you mentioned with the first restaurant, you tried anything. Was it similar with the content strategy, or did it kind of work from the beginning?
Well, it was quite a funny thing because, as I said before, like my big idol was definitely Gordon Ramsay, and the way that he built everything around his brand, like we just talked about, Feed would never exist without my personal brand, but my personal brand would never exist without Feed. It's kind of the same way Gordon Ramsay did it. So I always had a dream of being on screen and seeing if this was going to work. So when the first COVID came, all other restaurateurs, they were out in the media whining about our prime minister, and we need money, and everyone was fucked. So instead of being the one who was crying about it, I said, okay, call a camera guy that I knew from back in the day, one of my little brother's friends, and said, come to Feed, let's record one video every day, and we'll show everyone how to do all kinds of dishes from Feed so they can cook them at home, instead of coming here to eat, because that's not allowed now during COVID. So it started this kind of community that everyone was cooking my fish dish or my Wellington or whatnot, because people have nothing to do during COVID. And after the first period of COVID, everyone wanted to come to Feed to taste the actual beef Wellington.
Yeah, how
the
close did I
dish.
get? It's smart.
So that was kind of the start of it. And I think after the first COVID, I had maybe 5,000 followers, or subscribers on YouTube or something like that. And then during the second period of COVID, that was where it really hit off, because I got some famous people on it, and I started to do more fun videos and whole animals and all these kind of good content kind of things.
Yeah, you get a hang of it.
Yeah,
After
exactly.
a while, right?
Exactly.
I also noticed you don't do partnerships on your socials, even though you
Never.
have. Why is that?
I think I can fill it in for you.
Yeah.
It just said he only does his own shit.
Yeah, I only want to do my own stuff. I've been offered lots of money for just the smallest product placement. Obviously, I'll not say that I would never do anything, but I think that I kind of have some sort of consent with my following base, that they follow all my videos, they see everything I do, and a lot of people look up to it. And they respect that in every single video, I market the shit out of my 3 own businesses.
Yeah.
So I think there's a very thin line before I start. Like I would see it as stupid for me to start branding Coca-Cola or whatever it could be.
Until you start your own cola.
Yeah, but like I just don't think it would be. I think it would be greedy, to be fair. Like I have 3 very good businesses that's profiting a lot on everyone who is subscribing to the channel, who's coming in, who I can see the whole thing combined. I can see all the customer who comes up and talks to me, that they saw me on a YouTube video and everything else. And some one-time offer from a big brand would never would never give that same value as someone who comes in thinking that I'm cool and look up to what I do, and they start maybe coming to Feed. Then 6 months later, they buy one of my knives, and then they maybe order some Wagyu, and then they come back to Feed on the next birthday. That's a long-time customer you got there. So I never thought about like short-term money.
It can also otherwise just get too much, right? If you have too many different brands that you're putting in there, people might get confused, especially if you do it for smaller or local brands. And it is just so nice that everything is a sort of a vicious circle with what you're doing, right?
Exactly,
It all starts with, I guess to some extent, that iconic menu that you build up. Then you're like, during COVID, you start to make videos and you're like, I might as well sell the Wagyu. I guess that's also how that then to some extent started, right? And when did the kitchen knives, that other company start? Because I think that is super cool as well. But it's a typical example of, you could have as well partnered up with someone.
Definitely, and we could have done the easy way as well. But like it was always a dream of mine to do that, and I saw a lot of other Danish chefs with their own brand. But when I looked into the product, it was all the same. It's all from the same factory. It's just a different name in the bottom, and it's all partnerships. It's all made with Co-op who owns 100%, and then they pay someone a couple of percent of the revenue, some royalties, to be the face of it. And I think that, like, can the Danes really be that stupid to buy into this, the whole story of this person actually developed this product themselves? Or does everyone like what's the deal there? So I just looked a lot into it and got a lot of know-how, and I think it was mainly stupid that I make so much cooking content and I promote someone else's products all the time. And from all my years working in the kitchen, I just thought that a lot of products could be made better.
How was the process for refining these products?
Well, the process was that we started to find a Danish guy, like a year before we launched it, 14 months before we started the business officially. We found a Danish guy who has been trading with China, with Portugal, with Poland, with all kinds of places that you can get the good steel and everything else. And then we talked to him for a few months, did some drawings, talked about what's important in a knife, in a design, what do we want to do here. My big brother, he came in full time, and then we traveled to China, and then we just went from north to south, about 4,000 kilometers, and went to 3 factories every single day, from 7 in the morning till 10 at night.
I was about to say it sounds fun until you said 3 factories every single day.
It was very fascinating, and to get that whole understanding of how a big piece of metal ends up to be a pan, and to see that whole machinery and everything.
How much difference
amazing.
is there from factory to factory in the quality?
Huge difference. Yeah. So what we did, the first goal was to be established as a cookware business. Knives, pans, pots, some kitchen utensils, whatever we use in the kitchen at Feed. So we started only having focus on that, and I think we visited maybe 30 different factories, and then ended up working with 5 of them, and they all made prototypes, and we sent them back and forth to Denmark and China many times. And then at the end, we went back to China, and we did a deal with the best part. And every time that we got a product home, we got Danish chemists, is that what it's called, to check up on how is
the materials.
All the materials, is that right, and how we do it best, and then it just slowly starts from there. Now I just booked it today. Actually, I'm going back to China here for the 3rd time. I was there as well in October, because we are doing a top of table line now, because we also want to set the whole table.
Okay. So just cutlery and stuff like that.
Yeah, we already launched some cutlery, but we're doing a ceramic series in 3 different colors with 8 different elements on each, and wine glasses and beer glasses and all that stuff. So we want to set the whole table. So we want to expand into that kind of line of business. It's super fun process.
Also nice because you have the perfect place to test these prototypes.
Exactly.
How much back and forth did you have there? Because you get some knives, you test them. What is it you figure out? Like, what's the type of small adjustments you made in this process?
Well, for instance, with the knife, we found the different factories. They usually, all these factories, they have a showroom to show all the knives that ever made. And then you find maybe 12, 14 knives that you kind of like. You say, okay, this handle is super nice, but this wood material would be nice in this shape. This pattern is super nice, and you test all these different kinds of steels, how many layers it is, if it's Japanese that we ended up going with, or Chinese, or whatever you want to use. And you say, in the perfect world, I want the knife to be this mix of these 7 different parts. And then you get that knife, and if it's actually good, then you usually take that knife and you send it to 5 other different knife factories to make them come with the best bit of how they could make that even better. And so at the end of the day, you have maybe 5 different products from 5 different factories, and you pay them to make 10 of each. And then I get it home in my house privately, give it to the chefs, give it to my friends and family and everyone else. And then we just get test results.
Yeah, so just trial and error.
Trial and error, yeah. And then we figure out exactly which one is best, and then usually make some small details that, okay, the tip keeps falling off, or the whatever it could be. And a lot of learning by doing. Yeah. And we also make big mistakes, and we're very impatient, everyone that I think I work around. So we're okay with making mistakes once in a while.
And with the businesses you're doing, of course, it's directly impacting. Do you also notice it since you started it that you actually get the better margins out of it? Because you use a lot of Wagyu, I imagine. You use a lot of utensils, all that stuff, which you can now buy from yourself, or at least get at a lower price.
Definitely. Like also now that we're going to set the table, for instance, we're going to pay maybe a third of what we pay now for plates and cutlery and everything else. And the same with the Wagyu. I just looked at the numbers yesterday, and we used 7 tons of Wagyu in 2025 alone. So that helps Feed Bistro get a lot better prices on Wagyu, but it also helps WagyuPusher make a lot better deals so they can sell it.
Yeah, because you have way more volume.
With better margins because of the volume. I don't think there's any place in Scandinavia who takes
that's smart thinking.
That many tons of Wagyu.
Yeah. And completely different point, but also very much relevant to, I would say, just running a healthy business and growing. You also got a big investor on board. I think, was it 21 or something? A restaurant group. Where did that come from, and why did you do that? Well,
I wouldn't say an investor. I would say more of a partnership. I was at the restaurant in Nørrebro, and I talked a lot to a guy called Morten, who was the CEO at that time at Dining 6. They had, I don't know, at that time, maybe 12, 15 restaurants. We talked since first COVID, because all restaurateurs, they wanted to help each other. They wanted to talk, what are you going to do here? How do you apply for this? What do you do? So we talked a lot, and in, I think, 19, they were opening a place where Feed is now, called Klokken, which was a lunch and dinner place. And they were losing a lot of money. It was not really a good business for that place. And they kept asking me, should we do something together here? Because we're losing money and you need a bigger place. And after the second COVID, we were fully booked 3 months ahead at the old restaurant because the YouTube channel really blew up. But after 2 weeks or something, the whole restaurant got flooded. And we didn't have insurance or anything else, and it was in a basement. So all fridges, everything was just fucked. Yeah. No insurance.
So like no more basements.
no more basements.
You're finally back from COVID. Like, let's cook.
And shit's going well.
Exactly.
Like YouTube is flying, full house.
Yeah, that was horrible. So Morten, he called me, saw on my Instagram story, and we actually sent all the guests up to that restaurant, and
nice.
We started talking there, and then we actually never opened up again in the same place after the water damages. So 2 months later, I think it took maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks to make an agreement with Dining 6. It was very important to me that it was still my DNA and I had the majority. So I got 51%. They got 49%. I had the concept and they had the space for it. And we came with some money, both parts, and we changed their brand to whatever they were having there to a huge Feed Bistro, going from 40 seats to 160 or whatever.
The location also fits the concept
Definitely,
perfectly. It's like a glove. Yeah. It just makes sense also with that little bar that you have downstairs.
Yeah, exactly. Everything just makes sense. And it also, looking back on it, really made sense because at the old restaurant, I was wearing all hats, classic mistake. And you kind of don't always have the eye on the ball. You work 18 hours a day. You're both the accountant. You do the groceries. You do the schedule. You're the head chef. You're running the whole show. You're fixing the doorknob if it falls up. Like every single thing I was doing, and I still didn't really manage to make money. because we made a little bit here and there, and we expanded, but I never made enough money to get a salary or put some money in my own pocket, and that's why it was a very, very good fit for me to meet someone who already had that whole oiled machine and could offer to do some of the things that I think is boring, as being the accountant and negotiating prices with our beer or wine or
all the parts where the money is actually earned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was just a good fit. So we moved in quite quickly, and I think we turned around the restaurant with new decor and feed signs and whatnot in a month or so, and kind of took over some of the staff that was at the current restaurant and everything else, and then it was just rolling pretty much from 21.
That's nice. So
yeah.
you started getting your salary and working a little less maybe as well?
No, I think I've been working like that, probably 80-hour weeks ever since. I remember, but I absolutely love it. I don't really see it as work. Like I love to see something grow, and the way that we have been growing, if it's the PAX price or the profit or the turnover, whatever, all numbers are just like increased by 30-40% every single year since 21. So I think it's extremely interesting to
keep pushing.
To keep pushing, but also to be in a role now where I don't have to clean the floors and do the ordering and do the scheduling and all that stuff, because a lot of people can do that and can help with that, but not a lot of people can do what I have been doing strategically and with my social media things and all of this. So now that I can see the business in the big picture, it's a lot easier to see where the problems are and to actually increase everything. Yeah.
Before we started recording, you mentioned that you don't really do service anymore, maybe once every month, every 6 weeks or something.
Yeah.
So do your weeks look a little different now in terms of the hours that go in, or?
I think my focus just changed a little bit, like in terms of building other businesses that takes some time as well, but also to see that it was Denmark. We have the experience called a bjørnetjeneste, that you do someone. It's not a good favor for me to step in that kitchen. I love it to make sure that we still have that Jacob energy and the yes chef and everything else, and that everything tastes on point, of course. But when I step in there, a lot of other leaders, they step a little bit down. So it's also to kind of let them fly, and it's never gonna hold up if the business cannot do a busy Friday with 400 packs to perfection without me. If it all stands and falls with me being there as it did for the first 7-8 years, then that's just not scalable.
I also never will get the freedom that you desire if you want to follow this path, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And all those businesses you do, you also run them together with your two brothers.
Oh yes, yeah.
What is that like?
That's kind of special. That's my big brother is 3 years young, 2.5 years older than me, and he spent 8 years becoming a lawyer, and he was a lawyer for 6 months. And I called him and say, "Do you want to come make a Wagyu business with me?" And he would say, "Fuck this suit and tie shit. I wanna be an entrepreneur."
Do you want to start a Wagyu business? I need a legal guy.
Yeah. So he kind of just jumped straight on board, and 2 years later, my little brother, he was done with his education, and he came into WagyuPusher as well. And I think it's very difficult to run business with your family. I did it with my wife for the first 6 years, and I do it with my brothers now. My big brother, he is the CEO of Jørsholm, DK, Jørsholm, all the products. My little brother is the CEO of WagyuPusher. And there's a lot of things we disagree on. There's a lot of things we agree on, but we still can sit with our kids and our parents on a Sunday and have a nice lasagna, as we actually is going to do here at 6 o'clock tonight.
Oh, nice.
And yesterday we had a very heated argument about what direction we should go in, but we can. I'm very proud of the way that we can divide it of when we talk business and when we are just good brothers.
What made you call them in the first place, offering them the role? Because I guess they were not necessarily the most qualified.
No,
but
I think it was we were quite far from each other the first many years that I ran Feed, because they didn't understand what the entrepreneurship life was. They didn't understand why I always showed up to family birthdays looking like shit, sleeping 3 hours and having my focus on something else than being in the room and everything else. So I kind of missed that my brothers were part of this life that I absolutely loved and hungered every morning and every evening and even in my fucking dreams thought about. And I wanted them to understand that and to show them how amazing that lifestyle can be if you actually love it. And they both love that now. And I think that they're both super, super happy that they got on board in that kind of lifestyle and got out of the hamster wheel maybe. But I think I did it to make sure that we had something together for the longer run as well.
You also basically were doing it yourself, right? You said in the beginning you were doing it with your wife, but by then at some point you started doing it alone. So it's maybe also nice to just get the companionship and especially to be able to share that with your brothers. Like
definitely, and also and I also have an amazing partner at Feed now called Anya, who got 10% of the business 3-4 years ago. I love to do things with good people, and it like gives me that's what gives me all the energy is to have someone to celebrate the victories with, but also when shit hits the fan, someone that you call and discuss and like figure the things out with. And maybe a lot of people see me and just the same way as you think Gordon Ramsay is doing everything himself. I'm not doing everything myself. I have the best people in the world around me, different partners in different businesses, and a lot of good mentors that I talk to on a daily basis. So the whole, like no one can do a business alone, and it's very lonely, and you get a bit crazy, I think, because I did that for many years, and then you make a lot of bad decisions because you don't have anyone to bounce ideas, and to push you back or to say, oh, you're completely off target. So, like, if I had someone the first 6 years who was invested like that and who could have helped shaping me, I would have saved a lot of time running into the wall because, you need good people around you too.
And that sense is also a balance, right? Because a lot of those moments you run into the wall, they're also good.
Definitely, and they have been building my character for sure. So it's no regrets. But it's nice now to have a lot of good people to run the business with.
Amazing. I think no regrets is an amazing way to end the episode as well. As natural as it gets. Jacob, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.